Rain slid down the cracked window of Block E, the oldest remaining residential tower in Crown City. Generations had lived in this building. Families, night shift workers, students, widows, and the kind of people who needed more time and a little more mercy to survive. But mercy was not part of the new developer's plan. The building was scheduled for demolition in 2 weeks. Notices had been plastered on doors without warning, printed in bright red ink, like a threat disguised as a memo. Most residents packed quickly, some quietly crying as they carried their belongings out. But one person refused to move. Mr. Elias Hart. 93 years old. Quiet, soft-spoken. A man most tenants barely noticed as he shuffled down the hallway each morning with his old cane and warm smile. To most, he was just the gentle old man in apartment 3B. To the developers, he was the last obstacle. At exactly 10 a.m., 3 sharply dressed corporate eviction officers entered Block E. Their suits were immaculate, their expressions sharp, their confidence nearly aggressive. Officer Dane, the leader, carried a digital tablet loaded with authority he barely understood. Officer Mila, precise and cold, had a voice like sharpened glass. Officer Trent, tall and smug, looked like someone who enjoyed the power his uniform gave him. They stopped in front of 3B. Dane knocked hard. "Mr. Elias Hart, you are hereby served your final notice of eviction, according to subsection." The door opened before he finished. Elias stood there, warm eyes behind circular spectacles, wearing a sweater far too old and slippers far too soft. "Yes?" he asked gently. Dane thrust the tablet forward impatiently. "You're being evicted today. You have 15 minutes to vacate." Elias blinked slowly. "On what grounds?" Mila stepped forward, reciting with surgical precision. "Municipal Code, Section 41, Article 7, Rapid Infrastructure Redevelopment Act. You must comply." Elias looked at her. For a moment, just a moment, there was something old and powerful behind his eyes. Something unshakable. Something she couldn't quite name. "I see," he said softly. "And you 3 understand that law well?" Trent smirked. "We know it well enough to enforce it." Elias nodded politely and stepped aside. "Come in." The officers exchanged quick glances. "No tricks, old man," Trent muttered. Elias chuckled, a warm, airy sound. "I'm 93. My trick days are long behind me." The apartment was simple but filled with books, hundreds of them. Floor to ceiling. Old leather spines, thick legal tomes, manuscripts with tabs and handwritten notes. Dane's eyes narrowed. "Why do you have so many law books?" Elias smiled kindly. "Oh, just work from my younger days. Memories." He moved slowly to the kitchen, cane tapping softly on the wooden floor. "Would you like some tea while you explain my eviction?" Mila scoffed. "We're not here for tea." "Ah," Elias said softly. "But you are here to cite the law, aren't you?" The officers grew slightly impatient. Dane lifted the tablet. "Look, sir, the building owner has given us full authority." Elias raised a hand gently. "Section 41, Article 7, he repeated. The officers exchanged looks. "Yes," Mila snapped. "Exactly." Elias sighed, a long, tired, disappointed sigh. "You are quoting it incorrectly." Trent laughed. "You think you know the law better than the 3 of us?" Elias studied him for a quiet, lingering moment, then said, "I wrote it." The room fell silent. Mila frowned deeply. "What do you mean, you wrote it?" Elias turned, slowly lifting an old leather book off the shelf. It was stamped with gold lettering. Crown City Municipal Law, Original Commission Edition. year 1969. Compiled by Elias J. Hart, lead legal architect. The officers went pale. Elias walked back to the table, placed the book gently, and opened it to Article 7. His fingers, fragile yet steady, traced the text he wrote over 5 decades ago. "You see," he began softly, "this clause was my proposal, and it was approved with specific protections." He tapped the page. Redevelopment evictions are prohibited unless the tenant, especially an elderly one, is offered an equivalent or better residence at the same cost within the same district. The officers froze. That's not in the digital version," Dane whispered. Elias smiled without humor. "The digital version has been modified. Conveniently, but the original law still holds higher legal authority." He pushed the book toward them. "And this is the certified archive copy. Courts still recognize it." Mila swallowed hard. Why didn't you say this earlier?" Elias looked at her with sad, gentle eyes. "Because you never asked. You came to enforce power, not understand it." Trent's facade broke. "We need to call this in." "You do," Elias agreed. The 3 officers stepped into the hallway to contact their superiors. Voices shook. Panic edged their words. The response from headquarters was immediate and sharp. "Do not confront Elias Hart. Return now. He is on the city's founding legal counsel registry." The officers stared at one another. "What does that mean?" Trent whispered. Dane read the classified note on his device. "Protected by municipal charter. Untouchable. Immune from standard eviction. He has executive review authority over legal redevelopment claims." In other words, he wasn't just an old man. He was the architect of their entire legal framework. He was their judge, their author, their law. The officers walked in again, quieter this time, more respectful, more human. Elias sat where they left him, sipping tea, calm as the ocean. Mila cleared her throat. "Mr. Hart, we offer our apologies." Elias nodded gently. "I accept them. No further action will be taken," Dane added, "and headquarters requested that you attend a meeting with the redevelopment board. They apparently weren't aware you were still residing here." Elias smiled faintly. "Oh, they were aware. They simply assumed I had grown too old to notice their shortcuts." He took another sip of tea. "And they were mistaken." Dane hesitated. "If you don't mind me asking, why do you still live here? You could afford anywhere in the city." Elias looked around the apartment. The dusty books, the old photographs, the warm yellow light. "This building," he whispered, voice trembling with memory, "was the first place my wife and I lived after we married. I promised her we would never abandon it, no matter how the world changed." He looked at the 3 officers, eyes no longer soft, but sharp with quiet authority. "And I keep my promises." Silence filled the room. A dense, respectful silence. When the officers left, they didn't walk out with arrogance. They walked out humbled, changed, awakened. Word spread quickly across the city administration. Elias Hart is still alive. The lawmaker himself. The one who wrote half of the city's legal code. And it wasn't long before the redevelopment project was frozen, then legally dismantled entirely. Block E remained standing. Protected. Untouchable. Just like the man inside it. That evening, as the sun dipped behind the skyline, residents gathered outside Elias's door. Dozens of them. Families. Struggling mothers. Old tenants who remembered him from decades past. They brought flowers. Handwritten letters. The hallway filled with soft gratitude, whispered blessings and teary smiles. Elias stepped out slowly, startled. A little girl tugged his sleeve. "Mr. Hart, you saved our home." He knelt slightly, just enough to meet her eyes. "No," Elias whispered with a smile. "I simply reminded them what justice looks like." The residents applauded quietly, not wanting to overwhelm him. Elias looked down the hallway, at the laughter, the relief, the light returning to people who thought they had lost everything. And he felt his wife's presence beside him. Warm, proud, peaceful. By nightfall, the city newspapers were already reporting. The old man they tried to evict wrote the law that saved us. And for the first time in a long time, Crown City remembered the name. Elias J. Hart, legal architect of justice.